Ladies and gentlemen, friends, colleagues and listeners, here we are at the start of, can you believe, the 13th Air Cargo Handling Logistics. And this one is a digital conference. And please God, touch wood, and there's a lot of that up here. Next year, it's going to be in Rome face to face. So we're looking forward to that. Now, the title of this one, Post-COVID, Bring Back Better and Make It Matter. And I've got my colleague and co-moderator, chairman, many other titles I could use, Stan Wraight from SASI. Stan, lovely to have you on board, sir.
I'm so pleased to be here, Chris. Really looking forward to this because it's an outstanding group of people that are going to be participating, and I'm really looking forward to this. This really, if everyone chips in and listens, I think we can make a difference and make some change happen.
Yep, I'm confident as well, Stan. Now, before we start, what I just want to explain to everybody is we've got a series and we've got several sessions. Most people will be aware of what they are. Please feel free to listen into them all or whichever ones you choose. Everything will be available afterwards for those that registered and anybody that would like copies of it as well. So that's not going to be a problem. And just before we start, I'd like to just make reference to the sponsors and in alphabetical order, which is CEIA, Champ Cargo Systems, CIN, Gita Aviation, IBS Software, JBT, Carly Logistics, Miami International Airport, Pay Cargo, Sarco Airport Equipment, SAVR Group, Swissport, and TCR. So thank you to everybody. It's always appreciated. And it helps an awful lot to put these digital events on. So well done. Now, Stan, we decided a while ago, and my God, hasn't that time flown past, huh? From when we did that basic podcast. Just goes, boom, gone. Yeah. Huh? And I've still got a dodgy throat, so I've been using so many lozenges, but I just can't get rid of this. So my wife likes it. She says I sound a little bit more gravelly.
Well, I'm glad you said gravelly and not sexy, because I would have countered your wife's opinion there.
Yeah, no, those days are long gone, Stan. Unfortunately. Yeah. Anyhow, right, we got a great lineup of guests. And none better than our keynote speaker. So that's going to be fantastic. So we got Mr. Courtney Robinson, okay, from ICAO. So we're looking forward to that. That'll be coming on straight after this. And it's so important because it's so unusual to get somebody from ICAO to attend one of these, let alone be a keynote speaker. So really looking forward to it. And obviously the messages that are coming out are going to be cascaded through the whole conference. So for people who are not sure how it's going to work, what we've done, myself and Stan, we divided all the sessions up. Stan's going to be moderating some. I'm going to be moderating some. We're doing this opening together, and we're both looking forward to a wrap up at the end with three very distinguished professional journalists. So we're going to have a little bit of fun, some facts, and also some feeling with regards to that at the end of the whole session. And we hope to come out of this with some clear objectives and a real understanding of that sometimes magical word collaboration. And I say magical because sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. But what we want is for it to be there as a constant. So Stan, after we've done this and we've got Courtney on, okay, is there anything you want to say specifically about what people should be looking out for in Courtney's speech? So obviously we've seen the slides and the support information.
Well, over the past couple of years, I've got to know ICAO much better than before because, quite frankly, we never really looked upon the governments, which is what UN is. It's a conglomerate of governments that get together and they don't dictate policy, they make policy. And the fact is that all of a sudden, the past 24 months of what we've been going through with COVID has raised the awareness of aviation in the world's eyes. Safety and security is one thing, but you can just imagine what would have happened to the world if we weren't able to move that protective gear, the PPE and the vaccines by air. I mean, we would just be in much worse condition than we are now. So that's one aspect of it. But the second aspect is that they've taken some initiatives which are going to come to light in this conference, which if they're implemented and with government support, we think they will, it's going to shake this whole industry up for the good. And I'm really happy that Courtney's been able to represent ICAO.
Yeah, no, it's good. And one of the things that you're talking about there, which will come out is the UAE initiative, whereby they're looking to have a cargo committee within ICAO, which is going to be, that's going to make such a difference. And then also, hopefully, as we spoke on the podcast a while ago, you know, if governments are brave enough and wise enough to get some aviation experts and SMEs to support them on what they actually want ICAO to push through, that's going to be an even bigger step, probably.
Well, you're right, because I mean, some governments have gone so far as to buy freighters and put them into operation with their national carrier. I'm thinking of Hungary in this particular case.
Yeah.
The US implemented the CRAFT program, the Civil Reserve Air Force, to get things moving. But others weren't so fortunate, and maybe they learned some lessons of the fact that they've got to support airlines in order to have that capability, because this is unfortunately not the last crisis we're going to face.
Yep. And something that everybody now is aware of is there are certain must-haves to keep the world spinning and everybody else walking and singing. So we got to make sure that everybody's prepared for that.
And let's not, Chris, forget the fact of the economic impact of the after effects of the pandemic on the world economy. I mean, this is what's going on right now is a consequence of COVID. No matter how you look at it, labor shortages, plant everything else, semiconductor shortages, it's all a result of this, and we can play a big role in improving it.
Yep. And one upside is I'm looking forward to selling a couple of our cars. So the second-hand car market has gone up. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But anyhow, right. So now, after Courtney, you start with your first moderation and interactive role, because you've got Ken DeWitt Hammer, director of World ACD. So you're going to be doing that. Well, just yourself and him.
Sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to interrupt there. No, basically what World ACD is doing is really giving a good pulse of what the state of the global industry is, and they're the people that contribute to their databases. I think he's going to talk about that, and he can give us a very good handle on what's going on. And I think it's interesting to know what's coming with ICAO, but it's also interesting to know what's happening right now. And I think that our panelist is going to give us the whole group a good insight.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And then I've got the pleasure of looking after four lads who, I think are going to be very entertaining, very informative. So I'm talking about Brendan Sullivan, who's the new global head now, cargo for IATA. Glyn Hughes, who was in that role before, Director General now of TIACA. Then Brandon Freed from AFA, Air Forward Association, and also Fabio Gambia from ASA. So I'm looking forward to the four of those guys. Now, one of the titles on that, or the title, is Industry Collaboration, a help or a hindrance. And my goodness me, that word is going to be dissected, evaluated, and interpreted until we actually come out with something whereby everybody agrees what should be done. So really looking forward to that. Then we come to customer focus, and I've got some real good characters there as well. So I've got Peter Pencil, the COO for Air Freight Seva, Robert Fordry, an old colleague, a friend, and a great lad from Menzies, Dennis Lister, VP Cargo Commercial Development for Emirates, and then Thomas Mack, EVP Global Air Freight for DHL Global. So we're going to be talking about customer focus, also how things are shifting, forwarders now looking to do things for themselves. Why? What are carriers? What are airports? How is the supply chain interacting? Or is it silo mentality again? So we'll be looking at many things there and very interested in what they come up with. Then we've got you, Stan, at 1:30, which is Up in the Air.
Yeah.
So a great title there.
Yeah. That one baffled me in the beginning. I thought you were talking about me personally, but anyway. What we're looking there is basically we have the GSSAs are representing multiples of airlines. I mean, in the hundreds, actually.
Yeah.
We have some great speakers on that panel as well. But in addition to that, we have Hactel, and everybody knows that when it comes to being a GHA and really having a pulse on what's happening. So their viewpoints on what's going on is great. And maybe they can have some comments about what's going on because in particular right now, moving things out of Asia is almost impossible.
Yeah.
That'll be very interesting for everybody to hear. Emirates and also So we're gonna have a great panel there and some good discussions. And I think maybe some answers for our audience as well as to what's going on right now and what they see as the coming few years of how we can improve things.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And then hand in glove, you've also got airport challenges.
Well, that one I'm particularly looking forward to, and I'll tell you why. I've been quoted quite a few times, and I passionately believe it, that, you know, a piece of aluminum that flies from, say, Hong Kong to London, be it on a Cathay or a BA airplane, it's the same piece of aluminum. It might have 15 minutes either way on arrival time because of aircraft type, and maybe the configuration in the lower deck's a little bit different because of the way they set it up. But the fact is that the speed is the same. So the whole difference, in my mind, for the future of aviation and air logistics is what happens on the ground. And there's no better panel than this one to discuss that. I know for a fact we have Stuart Angus, who recently retired from Denata. I have tremendous respect for him. He's such a smart and good man. But we also have a developer who actually develops facilities, and we're going to challenge him on saying, you know, are you a real estate company, or are you part and parcel of the solutions we need on airports? And we have airport operators as well. Yeah. So the challenge to them will be quite simply, how can you make things possible for airlines to introduce products that the consumer really wants?
Yeah. And for airports to start looking at their own ecosystem and how they can influence everybody that comes under that particular banner. Yeah. Then I get another chance, and I'm not sure if somebody put this in to make me smile or wind me up, but the title is Small Better Than Large. So we'll leave everybody to interpret that themselves. However, looking forward, an old colleague and somebody's just recently been made CEO of Saudi Cargo, Teddy Zevitz. Then we've also got Save SPA. We've got Massimo Roccaseca. And sorry, Massimo, I'm sure you'll be able to tell me if I pronounce that wrong. I do apologize. We've got Brian Schreiber, who's the business development for Columbus Regional Airport Authority, Rickenbacker International Airport. And then we've got some colleagues, and we're not sure who's actually coming on board with regards to Liège Airport, but they've done a great job. So we'll be able to get their opinions as well. So it's just, we're going to cover now about, you know, real cargo focused airports and what's necessary, who's doing what, and something that you said in the podcast, Stan, you know, a lot of people gave, you know, they just gave throwaway credibility and recognition to cargo over the years. Then all of a sudden, everybody had to go down. You know, how many of them are going to go back to the way things were if capacity starts to up? And the thing is, just like consumers now, you know, you need to remember. So that's going to be a great one. Then I move on to the importance of proper handling airport equipment. So we've got Liam Bolger from Luton Airport. We've got Christoph Phillips from TCR Group. And we've also got David Bunting from JBT Aerotech. So going to be looking forward to that and seeing, you know, covering all issues, whether it's leasing, owning, renting. I'm also going to be looking at, you know, the types of pooling and innovation that could be there. We've got telematics, we've got autonomous, we've got so many different issues to discuss. So that'll be a good one. Then we go to digital and automation developments to improve efficiency, Stan, which I know is very close to your heart.
Yeah, I'm passionate about it. You wouldn't believe how much. And why we put in that last little couple of words there, and efficiency. I think we've given too much press to the commercialization of things, like how to sell better. And we forget about really the core business of being able to sell better is to make sure it works. I mean, the factory has to work or the shop front doesn't. And in this panel, what I want to do is explain how economic and environmental sustainability can be a real benefit of digitization. That's one issue. We can cut costs, we can improve efficiency, we can reduce pollution through digitization on airports. We've tested it over the last 5-8 years. But the other most important thing in all this is we have to do this. It's not a question of we should do it, we have to. Why? And we'll hear that from Courtney. This is where ICAO is going. It's where the UN is going for trade facilitation and also safety and security implications. Governments now want to know exactly what's in every shipment, postal included. And you can't do that without digitization. And last but not least, there's a big concern about so many thousands and thousands of people that never before used air freight are now using it with e-commerce.
Yep.
So we have to digitize. We have no choice. And those who don't, if they fall behind, the catch up is going to be extremely hard on them. And it's going to be much more expensive than they can if they listen to this panel and get a handle on what can be done at a variable cost. I think you don't have to be in a fixed cost situation. So I think this is an extremely important panel for this conference.
Yeah, no, fully agreed. And then tomorrow morning, there's another character that we know very well, professionally and personally, and he's going to be on the opposite side of you, Stan, talking about shipper and vertical focus with specific reference to e-commerce. And I'm talking about Olivier Bijouy, so from OB Invest. So I'm looking forward to that one as well.
Well, the interesting thing, well, first of all, you couldn't ask for a better guest than Olivier. I mean, if there's ever been someone who really knows what he's talking about, and also it's great fun to be around him because he's so smart. He just fascinates me. But handling e-commerce is not the same, because you're talking about parcels of less than 30 kilos. They have to be for the last mile delivery. You're talking about a way it's transported on an airplane, because small parcels don't work very well. For example, if you're loading mail bags onto an aircraft pallet, et cetera, et cetera. So there's innovation in how this is handled and how airlines can accommodate this and still optimize revenue. Everyone talks about e-commerce being all volumetric. Well, it's just not true. A recent study we did shows it's the same. It's 1-to-6 volume ratio. It's not a 1-to-10 and 1-to-8 because of B2B versus B2C, et cetera. So we'll go over all of these things in this panel. I think it'll be interesting for everyone to really know what e-commerce is all about from an airport and ground handling point of view.
Yeah, no, that will be interesting. And what you said there about the density, and I was watching a program with some machinery now that's able to make the boxes and the packaging to absolutely cut out any wasted space whatsoever. It's incredible. I was watching. It was such a fascinating thing, because sometimes you get things turn up and you think, my God, all that packing and all that padding, and why waste that amount of space? So people are looking at it from that end as well. So that's good. Then we come to safety and security in the new logistics environment. And my goodness me, how important that is. We did a fantastic podcast some time ago with Kester Meyer from KLM. Absolutely. I loved it. He's a really entertaining guy, passionate, loves what he does, talks a lot of sense, and he keeps it simple. So I'm looking forward to that. Then we got Sunny Segal, who's the director of Transpitech Computers, who specializes in cybersecurity. And we got Matthew Vaughan, an ex-colleague when we were at Etihad, who's now also looking after aviation security and cybersecurity and operations and safety and security for IATA. So very, 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 very competent three ball there. So I'm looking forward to that. And then straight after that comes the future of ULDs and specialized packing. And we got lots of topics there to discuss. Also, from the pooling concept to what types of packaging to, how can we look at whether or not it's important to have so much storage in warehouses? Should we not be looking at different packaging types and controls from that perspective, which are more efficient and more cost effective? So I've got Thomas Sontag from Jettainer, Anton Resnikenko, who's also coming on from Volta Depner, and we've got Mark Grunwagen from Uniload, Ian Buck. Thank God, Ian, you've got a nice, simple surname to pronounce. Really appreciate that, my friend, who's from Oakshore Associates. And then we've got Urs Weisendanger, who I know very well from ULD Care. So looking forward to that session with those guys as well. And then, Stan, something again that you love, sustainability and air freight.
Yeah, well, economic sustainability is also important, but I think we're going to focus here more on the environmental side as well. Economic security and sustainability means that you can make enough money to keep your business going. So, I mean, exactly. That's important. And we see that now. If you squeeze the whole supply chain as an airline, for example, be careful what you get, because it's maybe not what you wish for. Yeah. But the environmental sustainability is a big part of it as well. Again, going back to digitization, if you reduce the dwell time of trucks, for example, Look what that could do, just these diesel engines running because it's just the way it does. So we'll talk about it from a digital point of view, but we'll also talk about the environmental impact of aviation as well, because there are targets from aviation, and I know Kuehner-Nagel will be a great speaker on all this, of how we can meet these targets. I'm looking forward to that panel.
Yeah, and Marcel, you know, he's always very, very engaging. So that should be very, very good. Then a title that's very close to my heart, which is leadership training and high impact of effective training, and effective and high impact is where I'm going to be focused on, because with no disrespect to training organizations, but there is so much training out there now. And I'm being bombarded with emails saying, you know, you need this to get back to work. You need this to support yourself. You need this. Why don't you do this? Personally, I think there's too much. And one of the sad things is, you know, when you do a training course, no matter how good it is, a little litmus test is, you know, after 3 months and you open up the folder and have a blank piece of paper, how much of it do you actually remember? And what's even harsher is how much have you put into practice? And what's worse still is how much of it would you desperately need to put into your next year's business plan or strategy. So I think there's ways of focusing on more critical elements and then doing more in a blended approach rather than the classroom. And also, it's one of these areas where senior managers, they're looking for returns on investment, which is why when things go a little bit haywire, you know, training gets pulled back in many cases. So really looking forward to speaking with Janet Wallace from Air Canada. Always love to have interaction with Janet. Very, very direct, very clear, very competent. Lillian, obviously I don't need to say anything about Lillian. You know Lillian very well. And Charles, you know, the time that we had the podcast together, it was not just interesting, but I learned from it. And I know many of the listeners did as well. So it'll be great to have the three of them together on that particular session. And then Stan, you and me, 3:00 tomorrow afternoon, we'll be doing a roundup with some special guests. And those guests are our excellent professional journalists within the cargo sector. Throughout the whole pandemic, they kept information flowing. They were level-headed. They were positive. They didn't blow things out of proportion. And they were also brave enough to ask why and question some of the tougher areas that needed to be addressed. So fair play to them. And the people I'm talking about there is Stelma Etim from Air Cargo I. We got Alex Lane from the Lodestar, and we got Will Waters from Cass Magazines and Lloyd's Loading List. So I know we're going to have a bit of fun, but we're going to have some facts in there as well. And we'll also get some genuine feedback as to what they think has been effective and what they think needs to be pushed further from the content of this particular digital event.
Chris, what I'd like to add to that one is, you know, maybe the direction that future press initiatives should be from what they learned from listening to the conference as well. Because I think the information that's going to flow from this conference, from the guests we have, that I hope can steer the press to focus on things that are really game changers and it has to happen because we're going to be forced into it because of government rules and the urgency of coping with the COVID type effects. It's one thing about what we have to do, but it's also how we can get there. And there I go into back to your collaboration discussion where we talked about maybe it's terms of reference, and in the past one we've talked about maybe it's terms of reference and guidelines, and the press can help keep these people honest, all of us honest, actually.
Yeah.
So I hope the press will do that.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they will. And like you said there, it's important to talk about things that are going to make a difference rather than things that are of interest to the readers. And I think that's where our journalists, they did so well during the pandemic. And dare I say, and I don't want to be a doom master in any way or form, but I think we're going to have a very tough 5 to 6 months ahead. And, capacity rates, everything, while some are going to be very favorable, the impacts of what's going to happen over the next few months, if governments don't do things correctly, could have a very, very, very nasty negative effect on us all moving forward.
Chris, there's one thing I've always said to everybody. I mean, I was just speaking to someone last week who I used to work with. Names shall remain nameless, but I said to him, look, the time for change is when times are good for you. They're not when times are bad. And if you go back to your old ways of doing business, which is buying airplanes and everything else, and not looking structurally at what the problems are, you're going to be back in the same situation you were before. And what I mean by that is where we're just supplying cheap capacity to third parties, and unfortunately, even those people we've depended on for so long for traffic are struggling. And I think that this whole session, it should be an eye opener for those people who take the time to listen to it.
Yeah, no, indeed, Stan. Yep. Well, my friend, I'll let you, well, it's me, I need to gargle, but I'll let you prepare yourself, because we've got Courtney next, and looking forward to the slides that we've got, and also to interaction with one of the most intelligent men I think I've met for an awful long time. So I'm really looking forward to learning and listening to Courtney. So to end, before we go on to that session, just finally, again, big thank you to the sponsors. And again, in alphabetical order: CIA, Champ Cargo Systems, CIN, Geeta Aviation, IBS Software, JBT, Carly Logistics, Miami International Airport, Pay Cargo, Sacco Airport Equipment, SAVR Group, Swissport, and TCR. Thank you all so much, and we look forward to seeing what the feedback is at the end of the sessions. Stan, thanks, my friend.
Yeah, enjoy the conference, everybody, and I really hope you get something out of all the hard work that Parveen and Chris has done to make this happen.
Appreciate it. And Des, if you're listening, my friend, you can phone in some questions. Don't worry about that. All right.
Promise
Take care.